When Doctor Who was revived in 2005, it set out to build up its own reputation and carve a path for itself in the modern media landscape. The setup for the Ninth Doctor was a sort of soft reset of this universe. The last Great Time War removed Gallifrey and all the other Time Lords from the narrative, unshackling the Doctor in a way, making him the last Time Lord, sowing a sense of tragedy into his past, affecting his current regeneration, making him ruthless, a deeply troubled war veteran. The only tie-in to the classic series that we got was a cheeky reference here or there, and the Daleks. The Daleks served as a parallel to the Doctor in-universe, whilst also being one of the most iconic icons of the series alongside the TARDIS in the real world. So bringing them back as a main antagonist made sense narratively, whilst also working in the show's favour in terms of marketing. However, that divide still felt pretty real. The classic series happened, yeah, but it felt as though the show was moving on and becoming its own thing. But then season 2 came along, and with it, an episode that forced the show to look its past in the eye, acknowledge it, and celebrate it. I'm of course talking about School Reunion. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. It really helps the channel. Thanks. There are a lot of aspects of this episode that I could focus on. The Krillitanes, the idea of teachers sleeping at school, which as a kid made this episode so tangible and terrifying. The high IQ chips, physics. Physics, eh? Physics. All of the main plot points, but I want to look at the main point of this whole episode. Sarah Jane Smith.
May I introduce Miss Sarah Jane Smith?
Hello. Oh, I should think so.
When this episode first aired, I watched it with my family, and I will always remember the moment when we see Sarah Jane Smith for the first time. My mum gasped, like a loud, audible My mum doesn't do that when watching shows. She watched Doctor Who as a kid, when Sarah Jane Smith was Tom Baker's companion, so seeing Elizabeth Sladen back on screen was huge for her. Now, I can imagine that that was the case for a lot of people who had grown up with classic Who. Suddenly, the classic and modern eras collided. But what is great about how this whole thing was executed is that it not only becomes a great commentary on the Doctor as a character and his relationship with his companions, but it also makes a sort of meta-contextual point, commenting on the show as a whole. All of this really gets focused in on one scene in the coffee shop, and that's what we're going to dive into. First, let's look at the narrative commentary, what this episode is saying about the Doctor and his relationship with his companions. At this point, we've seen the Doctor and Rose get closer and closer over the last 2 seasons, but especially with the 10th Doctor, as he is sort of more open emotionally than the 9th. We see these two travel around the universe together, and we see them fall in love.
Well, are you going to stay with me?
Forever.
Up until now, in Rose's eyes, this idea is unquestionable. They will be together forever. Why would they not be? She is the only one who travels with the Doctor. It is him and her. And then Sarah Jane Smith comes along. An old companion. One who has been left behind, put back on Earth to live out a normal life. The Doctor flying away into the stars. She waited for him to come back, but he didn't.
Did I do something wrong? Because you never came back for me. You just dumped me. I waited for you. I missed you.
Oh, you didn't need me. You were getting on with your life.
You were my life. You took me to the furthest reaches of the galaxy. You showed me supernovas, intergalactic battles, and then you just dropped me back on Earth. How could anything compare to that? You could have come back.
I couldn't.
Why not?
Rose sees in Sarah Jane Smith someone that she could become, left alone to live out a mundane life after being left by the Doctor. This also makes her see a side of the Doctor she might not have known was there. Someone who moves on, someone who changes, who leaves his friends for good, never remembering, never talking about them. And so she confronts him, and he lays down the true reality of who he is and what that means.
How many of us have there been travelling with you?
Does it matter?
Yeah, it does, if I'm just the latest in a long line. I thought you and me were... I obviously got it wrong. This is really seeing the future. You just leave us behind. Is that what you're going to do to me?
No, not to you.
But Sarah Jane, you were that close to her once, and now... You never even mention her. Why not?
I don't age. I regenerate. But humans decay. You wither and you die.
You can spend the rest of your life with me, but I can't spend the rest of mine with you. That's the curse of the Time Lords.
Hard-hitting truths, but I really do think that he believes it's different this time. It's different with Rose, because he loves her. He can't say it yet, and unfortunately, he never actually gets to tell her. But that is why he plays into this fallacy that they will be together forever, because he wants to believe it. In a way, he needs to believe it. We see here a glimpse of a darkness in the 10th Doctor, the weight that he has to bear, the loneliness that eventually engulfs him over the next few seasons, culminating in the Time Lord victorious. Check out my video on that if you'd like to. It's such a small and condensed scene, but it packs a heck of a lot of emotional substance, and through it massively recontextualizes Rose and the Doctor's relationship, both for us, the audience, and for Rose. Absolutely brilliant stuff. But zooming out, I think that this episode also has a meta-contextual analysis of the show as a whole, commenting on the relationship between the classic series and the modern series. As I said earlier, there are one or two references in Eccleston's series to what came before, but with the inclusion of the Time War, which was this soft reset for the universe, there was a wedge placed between the two different iterations of the show. And I think it was probably a pretty wise decision. A whole new generation of people tuned into and fell in love with the new Doctor Who. So making it more accessible by diluting the history a little meant that people didn't need to do their homework on the last 39 or so series to understand what the heck was going on. But for those who were fans of the classic series, this probably felt a little weird, as though the show was distancing itself from what came before. But then this episode came along. Reintroducing Sarah Jane Smith was a bit of a love letter to the classic fans. Sarah Jane was a well-loved companion to the most popular incarnation of the Doctor at that time, Tom Baker. So seeing her back on screen was a huge signpost saying, look, the classic series still happened. We see you and we hear you, fans of the classic show. But I think it goes deeper than that. I think Sarah Jane Smith as a character acts as a stand-in for the fans of the classic series. Being dumped out of the TARDIS after the end of the last series back in 1989, they've been waiting for the Doctor to return. They kept on trying to keep the series alive, rewatching old episodes, trying to relight the spark of Doctor Who. And then finally, when the Doctor does return, when the show comes back on, it looks different, it feels different. But deep down, beneath the exterior, it's the same person, it's the same show.
I can't believe it's you. Okay, now I can.
And then Rose represents the new, younger audience, thinking that the show is theirs and theirs alone. But that's far from the truth. The old and the new fans both try to assert their dominance. Look at what crazy antics happen in the classic series. Oh, look at what happened in the new show.
I saw things you wouldn't believe.
Try me.
Mummies,
I've met ghosts.
robots, lots of robots.
Slovene in Downing Street.
Daleks,
Met the Emperor.
antimatter monsters,
Gas mask zombies.
real living dinosaurs,
Real living werewolf.
the Loch Ness monster.
Seriously.
But finally, just like these two companions, we all come together in agreement that though it might now be different, it's still Doctor Who. And we all love it because there is a core aspect to the show that is full of wonder and creativity. Just like the Doctor, the show takes us on amazing journeys. We get to see awesome things as we barrel through time and space. And yeah, eventually the show will regenerate and become something slightly different. And if we don't vibe with that, then hey, maybe that's someone else's Doctor. But there will always be something to latch onto, something to appreciate. And regardless of what comes next, we will always have what came before to enjoy. This episode did fan service well, in my opinion. It brought back an old favourite, but in a way that actually meant something, and not just doing it for the sake of doing it. Also, I just want to quickly say how much of a treasure K9 is, and the joy the Doctor has when his old dog recognises him is probably the best line of the whole episode.
Oh, hey, now we're in business.
Master.
He recognizes me.
Affirmative.
Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. I have loads of other Doctor Who videos on my channel, as well as videos on other TV shows, films and video games, so go check it out. But that's all from me. I'll see you on the next one. Bye!